Welcome to Movie MASH. Today, we're going to recap an American sci-fi action film called Tron Legacy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting movie recaps. In 1989, a man named Kevin Flynn, who is the CEO of a technology company called ENCOM, tells his son, Sam, about his exciting adventures in a virtual reality world called The Grid. The Grid is a place where there are amazing battles with discs and cycles that race on light ribbons, and many magical things happen. Kevin created The Grid with the help of two programs named Tron and Clue, who looks like a program version of Kevin himself and can think for itself. Sam is interested in hearing more about his dad's story, but Kevin has to go to work and promises to tell him more next time. Suddenly, the scene changes to a series of events and news reports about Kevin's disappearance, causing chaos in his company. The news also reports that ENCOM company became very successful under Kevin's leadership. Unfortunately, in 1985, Sam's mother passed away in a car accident, leaving Sam without any parents. Kevin's friend, Alan Bradley, believes that Kevin did not disappear, but is instead off searching for something magical. The scene then jumps to 2010, where Sam is now the main owner of ENCOM after his father's disappearance. He tries to break into the ENCOM tower to steal the company's newest operating system, OS 12, but gets caught by a security guard. Meanwhile, Richard Mackey, who is now the company's chairman, announces that they will no longer offer OS 12 for free, as it is considered one of the safest software in the world and there is no reason to give it away for free. Sam manages to hack into the ENCOM system and releases the OS 12 to the public for free on its release day as part of his annual prank to the company, making Michael furious. After being chased to the top of the tower by the security guard, Sam reveals himself as the biggest shareholder of ENCOM and then attempts to free fall off the tower with his parachute. As he tries to reach his motorbike, he is arrested by the police for trespassing, but is eventually released a few hours later. Sam returns to his apartment where he is confronted by Alan, who tells him about a page signal he received from Sam's father's office in the arcade, which has been disconnected for 20 years. Alan also shares a story about Kevin, who came to Alan's house 2 days before he disappeared and claimed that he had cracked the code about quantum teleportation. Alan also adds that Kevin wouldn't have left that invention and wouldn't have left his only son. Sam doesn't believe his story and says that Kevin is already dead and does not care about him anymore. Before Alan leaves, he hands over the arcade key to Sam, saying that he must be the one who goes there and finds out what is happening. Later on the night, Sam decides to pay a visit to the arcade and manages to locate a hidden doorway behind the Tron arcade machine, which leads him to a secret workshop underneath the playing room. Sam explores through his father's computer and activates a digitizing laser behind him by accident, transporting him into the digital world called Tron City. The confused Sam then walks out from the arcade building, realizing that everything has changed and the city has transformed into a very modern and digitized city called Grid. He is then captured by a recognizer and is assigned by the program to participate in the games, while the others are being rectified. Sam is then taken down to a room where he is equipped with armor and an identity disc, which records everything its holder does or learns. After that, he is delivered to Disc Wars Arena, where he has to fight several programs and has to be the last man standing in order to win the game. After several breathtaking fights, he has to face a program named Rinsler, the only program who uses two identity discs while fighting. In the final fight, Rinsler seems to be a much stronger and experienced fighter than Sam, as he is outskilled by the program. When Rinsler is about to launch his final blow, he notices blood coming from Sam and suddenly recognizes him as a user. The Grid's boss, who has been watching the entire fight from a flying ship, commands the fighter to bring Sam to him. As the two meet, Sam believes at first that he is talking to his father, before realizing that it is Clue when he says that he is not his father, who apparently has the same image and appearance with his father as described in the beginning of the movie. After the encounter, Sam is being sent to the next game, which is Light Cycle Grid, while a masked woman watches them unnoticed. Surprisingly, he is assigned with a team challenge directly by Clue and his followers. Equipped by a futuristic motorcycle, the battle begins. Members from both teams are slowly eliminated one by one until Sam, Sam and Clue become the final survivor. Sam falls off from his bike and Clue is coming after him. Luckily, the mysterious woman comes with his futuristic car, saving him from being killed by Clue. Both of them then escape from the arena and she introduces herself as Quorra while driving away the grid. They eventually arrive at a safe house far outside the grid, where Sam finally meets his long-awaited father and they hug. At dinner, Kevin explains to his son that he was working with Tron and Clue to make Grid into a perfect system. However, a brand new type of program manifested itself within the Grid. They are called isomorphic algorithms, or ISOs, and were considered as a miracle by Kevin in his story to Sam at the beginning of the movie before his disappearance. Kevin felt they represented revolutionary potential to change the human condition. Clue, who saw them as aberrations, betrayed Kevin and Tron in order to take control of the system and purge it of all ISOs. Tron, who was designed to be a warrior, fought back for Kevin and was destroyed by Clue. Since then, Tron was never seen again while Kevin managed to flee. Kevin remained trapped in the grid when the portal back to the real world closed, causing him to disappear for a very long period of time. He adds that the portal can only be opened from the outside of the grid. Sam insists on taking his father out of the grid and returning home because the portal will remain open for 8 hours in grid. But Kevin refuses, as this is exactly what Clue has been planning, to lure the creator into the grid and then try to obtain his disc. Sam also discovers that the page signal received earlier by Alan was not sent by Kevin, but Clue. Sam is optimistic if he could make it to the portal. Even without his dad, he and Alan could shut down Clue from the outside. Wanting to help, Quorra hands over a map containing the location of a program named Zeus who may be able to help Sam. Against his father's wish, Sam takes his father's light cycle and goes back to the grid. Later on the night, Kevin finds his son missing and finally decides to come out of hiding to go after his son. Upon arrival, Sam abandons the light cycle in the middle of the city, causing Clue's operatives to trace its point of origin, which is Kevin's safe house. But finding no one as Kevin has gone away, Sam is brought by a woman called Jem to Zeus's clubhouse called End of Line Club. There, he meets Castor and brings him to his private room where he reveals that he is actually Zeus. He then betrays Sam to Clue, whose army, called Blackguard, suddenly appears at the club and starts killing everyone. Quorra and Kevin arrive just in time to assist Sam. Unfortunately, Quorra's arm is destroyed in the ensuing brawl, forcing them to flee from the club. As the trio escape, one of the Blackguards attempts to steal Kevin's disc and Zeus manages to take it from the guard. Zeus hands over the identity disc to Clue, hoping that both of them could build a mutual relationship. But he is then betrayed by Clue, who explodes the entire club, killing both Zeus and Jem in the process. Kevin and Sam argue over their next course of action, finally deciding to take a freight train called Solar Sailor to the portal. As he is repairing Quorra's arm, Kevin reveals that Quorra is the last surviving ISO. While on their way and waiting for Quorra's system rebooting, Sam and Kevin bond with each other. Upon awakening, Quorra shares her story about how she met Kevin, who saved her from an assault. She also has a desire to see what the real world looks like. Unexpectedly, the Solar Sailor's route has been diverted, taking them to a massive carrier ship, where Clue is repurposing programs in order to form his own army. As they try to find a way out, Quorra decides to sacrifice herself to distract the enemy, ends up getting captured by Rinsler. When fighting with Quorra, Kevin realizes that Rinsler is actually Tron, who has been repurposed by Clue. Clue gives a speech towards his army of repurposed programs about his grand plan to rule the real world. Having secured Kevin's identity disc, he is now able to take his carrier, an army, to invade the real world. While Kevin is trying to find a plane for their escape, Sam decides to go to Clue's command ship in order to save Quorra and take back the identity disc. He manages to retrieve the disc when Rinsler suddenly comes to the ship with Quorra. Both of them have a rematch, and with Quorra's help, they manage to disarm him and leave him hanging over the ledge. They then escape and finally meet Kevin on the flying deck. While on their way to the portal, Kevin, Sam, and Quorra are confronted and chased by Clue, Rinsler, and his Blackguards. Sam, with his machine gun, and Quorra with his piloting skill, manage to eliminate all the Blackguards, leaving Clue and Rinsler in the opposing team. When Kevin makes eye contact with Rinsler, he begins to regain his memories as Tron and abandons the chase, leaving Clue to pursue them alone. As the trio fly towards the portal, Kevin asks Quorra to swap their identity disc. Upon arrival at the portal's gate, they have been waited by Clue. Kevin and Clue start their conversation where Clue claims that he was simply following the directive programmed into him. He insists that it was Kevin who betrayed his promise to make a perfect world together. Kevin accepts the fact that he was wrong at some point and apologizes for setting Clue on such an impossible task. Clue suddenly attacks Kevin and Sam tries to fight back but gets thrown away instead to the other side of the bridge. The bridge to the portal starts to break off, separating Sam and Quorra while Clue goes for Kevin's disc. But he is shocked to find out that he has been tricked because it is Quorra's disc. Frustrated and furious, Clue jumps to reach Sam and Quorra, but it's too late as they have got inside the portal. Kevin then reintegrates with Clue, causing them to explode and destroy the entire world. Back in the real world, Sam copies the grid from Kevin's old servers onto a small microchip he wears around his neck. Alan then arrives at the arcade after receiving another page where Sam states that he will take over ENCOM and choose Alan as the chairman. He also adds that Alan was right about everything. Quorra surprisingly appears in the real world and Sam decides to bring her to see the sunrise for the first time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting recaps.